Hello racers! Today we will be talking about Twilight of the Republic in a pre-release format. We will be talking about the leaders, the removal and ambushes, and what colors you should play on your tournament. I will also will be linking the presentation with all the information in the comments, so you don't need to take any screenshots during the video. Okay, let's go through it. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about the archetypes.
Yeah, so we have the heroic and villainy are separated into two categories. So heroic units have coordinate. In a lot of cases, this keyword gives a unit some sort of ability if you have at least 3 units on your field, on your side. And for the separatist side, so villainy, basically in all colors you have cards that have exploit, and exploit allows you to play a unit for 2 resources cheaper, but you have to defeat your units in order to do that. So if you have exploit 1, you have to defeat 1 unit, and then you play a unit for 2 cheaper. If you have exploit 3, you can defeat up to 3 units, and then you can play this unit for 6 legs.
Yeah, and I think it's good to talk that we think that coordinate, even though in constructed will be really underpowered, in limited it's not that hard to trigger it, and so you can basically treat the card as it has this ability, but sometimes it may lose it during your turn.
One of the reasons for that is because we have quite a few tokens in this set, so it's a little bit easier to flood the board to enable those abilities.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the leaders. So the most important part when building your limited deck is what leaders to choose. And after testing, we discovered that there is one leader that is like so much better than any other. Especially in limited format, that he deserves the only S tier, and he's, as I said, so much above that there is not even a single leader in the A tier. So Anakin, with his ability to attack with a unit, giving him +2 attack, and you can only attack other units, but it basically gives you a free trade up with almost every single of your units, and you only lose 2 HP on your base. That ability would be strong enough, even if the flip was bad for a leader. But on 6, even it's a little bit late, but during limited, late flipping leaders are not that big of a deal. But he flips with an amazing stats. Almost always, he is much better than his basic 4/7, because he gets +1 for each 5 HP you lost during the game. So most often he's at least 6/7. He trades with almost every other unit in the game, and he has overwhelm, so it's really easy to finish the game after attacking a droid or a small unit on your turn.
Yep, and also one of the reasons why Anakin is so strong is because in this set in general, the power level of cards is slightly lower than what you might expect. So there are a lot of units that might not seem that strong, but you will end up playing them anyway. So there's card like a space unit that costs 2 resources, has a 1/4 stat line, which seems terrible, but you'll play it anyway because you need those 2 drops, and there are a lot of those type of units that have quite a weak stat line, but you have to play them anyway. So with something like Anakin, you can fix those and get some really good trades, even though they're understated. So this ability gives you even more value than it should.
Yeah, it's the first limited set that vanilla 2/2 unit for 2 doesn't seem unplayable. And yeah, the rest, in the B tier, we put Dooku and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is mostly there because of his stats. His ability is not bad, but healing is sometimes a little bit awkward. But 4/7 Sentinel is a really big body, and he also gets really important ability on attack because he can then heal and deal damage.
I mean, healing is nice because in limited, this format is a lot about trading. So sometimes you your unit is gonna kill something, stay alive, and then you might get a chance to heal 1 or maybe 2 HP from that unit, and that can really save you. One of the reasons why OP1 is high is because there is one common unit, Royal Guard attaches, so a 2 mana 2/5 unit that enters play with 2 damage counters on him, and with OP1 you can easily heal him right when you play him, so this guy really helps you to get a lot of value out of your leader.
Yeah. And Dooku is also just a decent statted leader, but the most important part is his ability. He makes every single separatist that would normally not be very good, so like 5 mana 4/5 Sentinel, that is in a mono black common. In Dooku is amazing because you can play him on turn 2, so he has something that a lot of good leaders in previous sets had, so he can play a lot of bad cards that are only good because he has the ability.
Yeah, the rest of the leaders that are in C tier are just well statted in most cases, and that's what makes them strong. And also they have quite a decent abilities for limited. So they are also a quite decent option to play. The D tier leaders are just something that I would rather not play, but sometimes you might end up playing them just because you have cards basically only in those colors, and the F tier are the ones that I would rather not play. Like the ones that are on top are okay. So there is Mace and Rex that you could play, but like Anakin is so much better than Mace, and that's why.
It's basically the F tier is the leaders you should avoid if you have the ability to. Because sometimes if you have amazing cards for the heroic red and yellow, and you don't have any other heroic leader than Ahsoka, you can play her, but she will not be a strong leader otherwise. Ahsoka, for example, has a really bad stats. Even though she flips on 5, 3/6 is not a big stat line, and her ability is basically useless before it. So any other heroic red leader would be better. And Rex, even though he doesn't look bad, what we discovered during testing is that flipping as a 2/6 has a big problem, because even though you gain the additional token, the token is easily traded, and then you are left with a 2/6 body that doesn't threaten anything, and you can just really fast be behind on the board because your flip is so bad. So let's talk about more about 3 leaders that we think are good and can be better because of some of the cards in the set.
So starting off, we have Ventress, and Ventress can really be strong if you manage to play her with green, and the reason for that is mostly because resupply got a reprint in this set, and resupply is really important for her because when you play resupply on 3 resources, you go to 4, and then you can deploy Ventress right away, and because her ability Ventress ability gives her +1, +0, and also first strike when she attacks, I believe. So you get to get that benefit right away after playing the resupply, so you can deploy her, kill something, because most of the 2 drops and 3 drops she can just easily kill and don't take any retaliation damage, so that's a really strong play. And you can just be really aggressive in general with her, also with stuff like on the doorstep and breaking in.
I will also add, because you shouldn't underestimate how powerful the resupply play is, because there isn't really good units in this set for stats. So like in the previous set there was a lot of 3/5 units for free. In this set there is basically not a single free cost unit that has 5 HP. So
there is one. There is Commando, like a 2/5 for free.
He's still at 2/5 minion, and when Asajj flips, if she is able to kill a unit for free, it's such a big tempo advantage that you may be able to snowball the game out of control from there. And there is also, like, all of those cards, Resupply on the Doorstep and Breaking In, are commons, so you should be able to find them. And when these cards in her are extremely powerful, but I would say it, really, that the really important part is, if you don't have Resupply, don't play Asajj, because leaders that are really low statted in limited tend to perform really bad, because the format is much slower than constructed. So stats on your leader are really important, and you would need to have a really, really good aggro deck for Asajj if you don't have Resupply, and I don't think it is even possible to build a good aggro deck in this format. Okay, let's go for the second one. It's Dooku.
Yep. So, do you want to talk about Dooku?
Yeah, I can. Dooku is his ability to play any separatist with exploit gives him the ability to play a lot of cards that are normally not that good. So like Patrol AAT or Super Battle Droid, that are okay cards but not great. In Dooku they became like a powerhouses. I think the biggest plays you can make is of course the Invisible Hand and Kalani. Those are rare, so you will not always get them. But in commons, you have B2 Legionnaires, you have the Patrol LAT Wing, and Calculated Magma Guard, and also the Devastating Gunship. All of those cards can be played on your turn too, and because of how many token generators and tokens are in the set, you can extremely easy snowball the game to the point when your opponent is just playing smaller minions than you. You trade up, you still end up with the unit you played, and then you can exploit again, playing even bigger unit. And in limited, as we said, this is a slower format, so leaders with huge stat lines are good, and Dooku has one of the biggest stat lines you can hope. It's 5/9 Overwhelm. His ability doesn't really get different, he needs to attack and has exploit 3, but his ability is more important in the early game. Late game, you just care that he is a big unit. And for me, this is the second, the second strongest unit in the set, because it's really easy to build him because he uses a lot of cards that are normally not that great, and he also uses Command Villainous, which all of the Command Villainous cards are designed specifically for him.
Yep. So yeah, in general, like this set is mostly focused on separatists in villainy. So vast majority of your units is gonna have the separatist keyword. So it's really easy to get the exploit value. One of the things that you should keep in mind when you build Dooku on Sealed is to make sure that you have enough of droids of effect that create droids. And some really weak bodies to exploit later, because if you play only the big stuff, you will end up in a situation where you have the big units, but you don't have nothing to exploit. And also the other way around, you have to make sure that you have some big units to play, and not only droid creation.
Yeah. Okay, and lastly, what we think is the strongest leader in the set is Anakin.
Yep, so there's Anakin, and in general, like, the units that you can see on the screen seem terrible in a vacuum, but because of the +2 attack bonus from Anakin, all of those units have basically around 3 or even more power, and that's enough to trade with all of those early gameplays that the opponent can make. And since they have quite a bit of HP, they're gonna still stay alive, and the opponent has to take care of them, or they can trade up with another unit or whatever. So yeah, Anakin's able to utilize all of those cards that seem terrible, but with his ability they become quite good.
Yeah, for example, Padme is really, really bad in any other leader, but in Anakin she can steal the game single-handedly, because if you manage to get coordinate, she is attacking for free and also giving an enemy -3, so she can basically kill any token without getting damage. And the cards like Advanced Recon Commander, so for free Overwhelm, which is a good stat line. When you can give it +2, it will trade with 5, even 6 drops. Or you can just attack a droid and go 5 into the base, which is also a really great for ending the game. Yeah, so yeah, because of the fact that Anakin can use unusable units, because like Faber Delegate, Senators, Republic Commando are bad units. Those are not great cards. In most decks they will be like cards that you don't want to play and you are forced to when you don't have anything else. But in Anakin are like, 1/5, it's amazing. I will trade twice and I will draw a card on top of it. So yeah, for that Anakin will be a powerhouse in the format. Yeah, so let's talk about the bombs, the strongest commons and uncommons.
Yep. I mean, I don't think there is much reason to go about all of them. Like, there's quite a few units in general in this set that are at common or uncommon rarity and are expensive, and which is really important in draft in general because the format is low enough for you to play those units. So stuff like Savage Opress or Aura Sync is really strong in limited, while in constructed they're too slow. So yeah. There are quite a few of those, and it's really good to pay attention to those because they can really carry you the game.
Yeah, it's of course those are not the only like amazing cards. This is the combination of what we think will be good stat lines or good abilities. Because the format evolves around the exploit and coordinate, it's much slower than it was before. So big units will be really strong in this format, and especially units that have more than 5 or more HP, because we will be talking soon about removal. You will see that there is not a lot of ways to remove big units in the format. That's also the way because Shakti normally shouldn't be very good because she is really understated. But if she will be able, if you manage to attack with her once or twice, she will be a big amount of value, and value in limited shouldn't be underestimated. Also one unit that I want to talk about is a unit that I thought will be really bad. So low altitude gunship. I thought it would be really hard to make the damage impactful. It's actually to the contrary. You are really easily have at least 2-3 units on board, and 3-4 damage with a 6 drop that actually has a pretty decent stat line is enough to make this unit one of the best uncommons in the set. Okay, so legendary rares, it's basically the same. Big stat lines for 5, 6, 7 mana are always really powerful. I think me and Sip can agree there is one card that is much better than all the other, and it's Enfys Nest. This card is extremely powerful. The fact that it has her ability on when play and on attack can make the game for your opponent to be almost unplayable. Because if they have even big like 4/6 Sentinel, she will just attack base because she has Saboteur and bounce it back to your opponent have every single attack.
Yep, I mean with bombs in general, it's quite important to have them some sort of immediate impact on the board, and Enfys has when played ability. There are a few others that have those type of effects as well. So there is Malevolence. Malevolence is also a quite strong unit that can make our opponent unit not able to attack, and then have the really big body with Restore, which can really stabilize the game when you play something like Dooku or any separatist-oriented unit leader.
The two cards that are not big units are General's Blade and Huang. And those are here because upgrades are really powerful in limited. +3/+3 for free is actually really, really good in this format. And Huang is just, for me, it's the best card in the set. For constructed, at least. And for limited, he is just a better wing leader that can be played on any other unit. So it will be amazing.
Yep, and General's Blade is here because we have a lot of Jedis in this format, so it's easy to get this this upside, and also upgrades are really strong. So just as a free mana, 3+3/+3, it's still quite strong card.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about traps. So cards you shouldn't really play or should avoid playing if you can. And let's start with like the biggest one. So Consolidation of Power. This card is unplayable in any format. 8 from the Innocent, so 5 mana, search 10 cards and bring 2 events. You can have those cards in your deck. Paying 5 mana for those cards will not be great, even in limited. There isn't really much heroic events in the set that are worth playing. So you should avoid building your decks around those 2 cards. The rest is a little more questionable. So for example, 5 mana draw 3. It's such a big tempo loss that, and in limited you have only 30 cards in your deck, so it's quite easy to get out-decked. So draw effects in general in limited are really bad. And
Yes. Yeah, I feel like one of the cards that is really worth mentioning here is Jesse, who seems really strong on paper because he has a great stat line, but his downside of creating 2 battle droids for your opponents for free is quite big in this format, because even if your opponent is not playing Separatists, so they have no exploit there, so they are playing heroic, they have still coordinate to that you basically enable them for free with just this ability. So creating tokens for your opponent in this format might not be as good. Like if you open him, you'll probably still run him, but it's worth keeping in mind that you might enable some sort of synergy for your opponent. So sometimes it might be better to play something else, or just play him at the very end of the round where they already played their card or whatever.
Yeah, Jesse is like a perfect card for a trap card because I think in Constructed he will be strong enough to see play, because 3 mana, something that can attack for 5 seem incredibly strong, but because he like enables everything in this set, because he enables coordinate and exploit, it will be really hard to make a deck that he will be like his big stats will be a benefit that will outweigh the negative of giving your opponent something. And the 2 other big traps are the Legendaries for blue. So Invasion on Christophsis, it's basically unplayable. Even though this set is focused on creating droids and a lot of cards, 15 mana is too much. And if you want to play it for cheaper, you need to exploit units. So if you even exploit or 4, you can play it for 7. But it will basically be just resetting the board, because you would need to clear everything you have. And if you are killing 4 of your units and you are still behind, it's so rare that it will most likely be just a dead card.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Battle of Christophsis is the fact that in general, in this format, there is not that much of a high removal, and you're better off just playing some really big exploit units. So like the Juggernaut that we showed at the very beginning, so a 9 mana 8/8 stat line. It might seem as a trash in Constructed, but in Limited there is not much removal, and in a lot of cases your opponent is gonna have be in really big trouble when you play this card, and it's a lot cheaper. So yeah, you're better off just playing some big units than Battle of Christophsis.
Yeah, and
because of how expensive it is.
Yeah, and the second legendary source, Satin Cries, because her ability is mirrored for both players, so both players, every single unit gets, you can tap the unit and mill. In limited, milling should be a strong option because you have only 30 cards, but if you play her, you have a dead 4 mana turn, or 6 mana, or 7 mana turn, and if your opponent have any unit on the board, they can start milling you before you can mill them. So I think she will be. We tested her, and she was just a dead card in any deck we tried to run her. She is like the biggest trap you should avoid. And lastly, the 1 mana 1/1 Force Jedi Republic unit. 1 mana 1/1 are just, even in this really slow format, terrible, and just because she has good tags, you still shouldn't play that minion.
Yeah, I mean, the 1-cost minions really require you to have a leader that has some sort of ability that you can use by using 1 resource. So something like Mace Window. With something like Mace Window, she's okay, but if your leader doesn't have the ability that costs 1 resource, she's significantly weaker.
Yeah. Okay, and let's now go to the I put it this just to say about a quick combo, because before the set I thought Clone Wars and Republic Defense Carrier would be completely unplayable, but when we played the Sealed a few times and I managed to play the Clone Wars, this card on its own is actually pretty decent, and it's also really powerful when you combine it with few cards from the set. For example, Republic Defense Carrier is still playable as its own because the format is really, really slow, and 6/7 in space with Sentinel is really powerful. But if you have Clone Wars and you are like on 6 mana, you play Clone Wars, you give your opponent 4 minions, and then on 7 you play Republic Defense Cruiser, it can be a really huge swing. And squad support, which I thought would be a dead card, because you can play it on your leader. There isn't really that much troopers, and then but every single token is a trooper. If you play Clone Wars, you can just boost something for like 6. And as we always, as we talked in both previous sets, upgrades in limited are always really powerful because the removal is scarce. So let's talk about the removal.
Yeah, so this is gonna be a heavy removal, and yeah. So for the really high removal that is easy to enable, you have Vanquish and the other one, the
Lethal Crackdown.
Yeah, Lethal Crackdown, and those are the removals that you can run in blue. They're so strong that I would even advise you to play them off aspect in some of the decks. Vanquish for sure, and then the other one, depending on the deck and what you really need.
Yeah.
Another one that is really important to keep in mind when you play against the villainy side is the pseudo power of the dark side that requires you to sacrifice a unit. So this one is at common, so it's likely that your opponent is gonna have them. This one, so whenever you play something that has exploit or whatever, just keep in mind that your opponent might play this card and really give you some trouble. Yellow has also some removal, and green, but those are mostly capture or just temporary removal that are there, but are not they're not just killing straight up unit. They're capturing or taking a.
But what's important? There is really, really limited heavy removal or hard removal. So basically, Vanquish is the only one that can just say remove anything. For Prisoner of War and Take Captive, you also need to have a unit in the same area. For Merciless Contest, it's basically Power of the Dark Side, so your opponent can't have a unit else that you want to remove. Waylay is really powerful in this format because of exploit. If someone exploits a big unit and you put it back into your hand, it's one of the the biggest tempo swings you can do. But it's only 1 card for green, 2 cards for yellow, and 2 cards for blue. And there is not a single card for red that can count as remove anything. So removal is really, really scarce. And none of those cards, even Merciless Contest, work on leaders. So leaders will be really, really important in limited because there is no way to remove them.
There are some, but they're not removing straight up them, but giving them some ways for you to kill them easier, like Colder or the -2/-2
Yeah,
upgrade that we're gonna talk about in a second.
yeah, you can. Let's go to the next slide. There is, as we called, conditional removal. So like as you called, prerelease position that taps a unit and gives it -2/-2 forever. It's a really good card in this format because it works on leaders. You can reduce them to be not that useful. Also, Hello There, that gives -4/-4 for the unit, but only if he was played this turn or enters play this turn. And then all of the other cards are a little bit like they do remove, but it's really conditional. So
Yeah.
Red deals 2 damage. It's all they do. They have like 5 cards that deal 2 damage, and self-destruct that requires you to kill something of your own that deals 4. Yellow doesn't have really anything else than those we showed before. It has 2 bounce effects that only work on units that cost 3 or less. And green has Akbar without body and Sobek that can capture something that costs 6 or less. If you play him for cheaper, he can only capture cheaper cards. So yeah, removal the lack of removal will shape the limited meta really heavily.
Yeah, because Red has so much removal that kills 2 HP units in general in this format, because there is also not a single a 3/3 unit in this format, so there's nothing like Battlefield Marine. The 2/3 stat line is actually in a lot of cases better than a 3/2,
Yeah.
Especially if you play against Red.
Yeah, I think in general 2/3 in this format will be better than 3/2 because Red has like 4 cards that deal 2 damage. There is also more cards that deal 1, and there are tokens that are 2/2 that can trade really easily into 3/2s. So 2/3 is the go-to stat line in this format. Also, there is one unit that can deal 3 damage. And has a 2/3 stat line that has a raid 1, and I think it's the best 2-drop you can play in the format. Okay. We also have, as the part of removal, ambush.
Yep, there are a few ambushes, so the most important ones are the droid commando. This one is really strong, so if your opponent has at least one separatist unit on the field, this unit gains ambush, so if they play turn 1 a separatist unit, then turn 2 they can play the droid's commando, so keep that in mind when you play against green. Yellow has access to the 4 mana for free ambush, and yeah, those are the most important ones, because there are some other conditional ones. So there is like the 2 mana 3/2 that has ambush when he has coordinate, but it's slightly harder to enable, and also you have to play him off curve in order to use this ambush. There is a 3 mana 3/2 that has ambush, but he's really low statted, so it's quite awkward to play him. But yeah, keep in mind the droid commando and the 4 mana for free with ambush, because there are those are commons.
But I think the biggest one is Bactoid Spider Droid. So 8 mana 5/6 exploit to ambush. 5/6 is a really good stat line in this format, and exploit 2 is really easy to do. And even though you will be losing some value because you will be killing 2 of your units, you can immediately gain it back with ambush. So Bactoid Spider Droid is a common, and you will need to be wary about it.
Yeah. Also, he is quite important for sure, and also the exploit unit is his exploit unit that has immediate impact, which is quite relevant for sure.
Yeah. And of course, Plo Koon, he's uncommon, which makes Yellow Heroic a powerhouse, because I think at least for limited, every single card with yellow and heroic is playable, and most of them are above average. But Plo Koon is especially really powerful because if he has coordinates, 5 mana 6/6 ambush is incredible. It will trade up with everything. It can kill most leaders in the set, so you also need to be always careful when your opponent has coordinate because 2 of those units have only ambush when your opponent have coordinate. Like guard only has ambush and Plo Koon has +3 attack. So whenever you play, just keep in mind if your opponent has 2 units, because then playing the 3rd unit will give them coordinate. So it's something that you will need to be taking a note during the games. Okay, and let's go to the one of the most important parts, so color ratings. And we have one clear winner.
Yeah, so the yellow Kanik is a really strong color, and in general there are just enough strong minions that are common and uncommon to make this color really strong. So there is stuff like R2 and a lot of really well-statted minions. So there's Plo Koon, there is the 4 mana for free ambush that are just really strong in general in limited.
R2D2.
And in general, like the R2D2 for sure. And heroic units, the fact that they have coordinate is maybe not as strong in constructed, but in limited it's really easy to, maybe not really easy, but it's quite easy to steal. Like quite easy. Yeah, it's quite easy to enable those effects. So those colors are quite good.
Yeah, and also I think heroic cards have a lot of they work together really well. So a lot of units in, for example, red heroic creates tokens or deal damage, and when you have low amount of damage and tokens, you can trade up really easily. So that's why we think that heroic is a little bit better suited for the limited format, with all 3 of the colors being for us the top 3. Even though I think if you would consider Dooku, then command villainous would be on par with heroic Cunning heroic. But because you will not always have Dooku, we can't really give villainous decks better rating. And 2 big things that we should notice: heroic vigilance, so blue, white, is almost unplayable. This color has 90% of the cards are terrible. And we said Obi-Wan is a strong leader, but you will need to build him not using most of the cards in his color.
I mean, in general, the trend with the heroic blue cards is also limited to the fact that they tend to have more HP, but not as much of attack. So maybe if you have Obi-Wan, you can get advantage of the fact that they have so much HP that they can attack something, stay alive, and then heal them. But if you don't have Obi-Wan or some way to capitalize on the fact that they have so much HP, then you should rather avoid blue heroic in general as your second color. And with the other color that we put at the bottom is the red aggression, and it's quite it's quite the opposite actually, because they have a lot of attack but not as much HP. So there's this 3 mana 5/2 minion. I'm pretty sure that's his stat line, and those are units that they seem cool because you can attack for so much, but they can easily die to a 2-drop or whatever that makes them quite awkward to play.
I think especially in this format, going to the extreme, so having high attack, low HP, or high HP, low attack, is not what you want to do, because there is a really easy way for most decks to boost their attack, so you can kill the high HP units without losing, and also there is tons of pings or low amounts, 2 damage, 3 damage, that you can deal with a lot of cards. So if you play a high cost card that doesn't have a lot of HP, it could be really, really easy to just lose tempo when your opponent plays that Daring Raid for 1 and kills it. Yeah, so like a quick note, always look at your Cunning Heroic, because there is not a single bad card in the color for limited. Like R2D2, Plo Koon, 2-1 Spaceship, even 2 mana tap and create a token is a really decent card in limited. And most of the cards are common for this color, so it will be a really, really powerful combination. Yeah, so this is our thoughts on the limited. We played around, I think I've completed about 20 sealed before doing this, and our perspective changed really, really heavily after we played a few games, because before when we were creating the tier lists that from our experience, those tier lists looked totally different.
I mean, basically the one main thing is the fact that Anakin is really strong, and even though there are a lot of separatists in this set, Dooku is not as OP as he seemed at first, so that's the main takeaway.
Yeah, he is strong, just not OP. And Anakin, we thought he will be strong, we didn't expect how OP he will be. Yeah, so thank you everybody. As I said before, the link for the presentation will be in the comments, and feel free to tell us how you did in your pre-releases and what decks you managed to play and what like amazing showcases you dropped. Bye!